Commission, as we do every Wednesday morning, and last week we started a conversation on gender mainstreaming. We learned a few things about what that office at the Minerals Commission gets up to on a daily basis, and today we are here to continue that conversation. Last week we had a lady lawyer at the table. This week another lady takes a stand, and Monalynn Anokye-Bempah, Senior Officer, Gender and International Affairs of the Minerals Commission, is at the table with us. Mona, good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Always excited when I see the women from the Minerals Commission at the table. So last week your colleague was here and we talked about what gender mainstreaming is. And she made us understand that even though it's for all genders, issues of women tend to dominate because the women have been sidelined for so long, if I can use that word. And so by way of a recap, tell us again what that means for those who missed that conversation last week.
Thank you very much, Thelma, and a very good morning to your viewers. Yes, Fafa spoke quite a bit on gender mainstreaming and what we are seeking to do. Yes, gender mainstreaming is to do with integrating gender concerns, experiences into mining policies and programs. I'm saying mining because we are from the mining sector, so everything I'm going to say is going to be based, will be related to the sector and then the industry as a whole. So gender mainstreaming looks at assessing how the implications of policies, programs, legislations on both men and women, children and then the youth. When we say gender, it's not just limited to women. Oftentimes, as soon as the word or the concept gender comes up, we tend to assume it's about women. But then it's not just women, it includes the men as well, it includes children, it includes the youth. Unfortunately for our sector, as you rightly indicated, women are sidelined, or not sidelined, but then in terms of participation, they are low. So the focus now for us is to increase the participation of women in the sector.
And what are some of the things that you're doing to make sure that the women are more involved in some of these roles that obviously exist for them? The minerals laws do not ban women from any aspects of the sector. So how do we improve the numbers of women in the game?
Good. Thank you again. Yes, improving the numbers is quite challenging, especially as there's issue of women not having the core technical mining skills. That's where one of the challenges come from, getting the women to go into the core technical mining areas like mining engineers, metallurgists, blasting, and a whole lot of the mining professions. So what we are seeking to do first of all is the local content and local participation regulations that came up in 2020. We sought to make it more gender inclusive for the sector. So we are working with industry in terms of recruitment, in terms of training, in their localization plans, in their training and their recruitment plans, they indicate to us as to, assuming a company is going to employ, let's say, 10 people, at least we should see some numbers of both men and women, or let's say males and females in there. So that's one area that we are looking to use to improve the participation of women in the industry. Also, looking at the value chain, the issue of in terms of procurement, we're also using we're going to use the regulations again, because that will give us the legal backing to be able to do some of the things that we want to do. And the issue has been that the regulations do not have quotas or does not set quotas in there. Yes, that is true, because we also had to take into consideration the issue of the numbers. Where are the people? If you had said that an industry should have, let's say, or a company coming up, let's say, should have, say, 10 metallurgists, and they are not able to get the professionals, how do we do that? So for now, there are no quotas in there. In the near future, we'll be setting quotas, but for now, it's going to be progressive, ensuring that companies, through their reporting, are putting in place measures to get more women or more females into the industry.
It sounds like very interesting, but the question that sometimes comes up when this issue of let's put more women in there is competence. And like you're saying, if two people apply for a job and the woman is the same level as the man, you would propose that the woman should be chosen over the man. And so people think, well, then that goes into the realm of discrimination. And so how are you able to navigate some of these things? Because we want more women in there, but the competent ones may be few and far between, and sometimes they are as good as the men.
Yes, it comes to the issue of discrimination, but then we also have what we call positive discrimination. Positive in the sense that we are in a sector where women are low, as I said. I don't really want to use the word bias, but then they are of the lower numbers in there. So we need to be able to, irrespective of how we may see it or would want to say that this is discriminatory, let's look at it in a positive light. So far as they are both competent, we are not saying that we should, because we want the numbers to increase, we should just employ women. But so far as they are competent, why don't we give them the opportunity to also take up these roles? Besides, studies have shown us that when women are in more capable roles, they do more. The companies, organizations are benefiting greatly from it. Women on boards, women in managerial positions. So let's give the women, once they are qualified, the issue is once you are qualified, you shouldn't be the organization, because sometimes some of the measures the organizations use not to employ women is the issue of pregnancy and getting women to fill up, getting other staff, train people to fill up when they're on maternity leaves, and women, things like that. So it makes it a bit challenging. Yes, we understand the risk involved in employing women, but then behind those risks there are benefits. So we should look at the benefit, the greater benefits.
And when people raise the issues about pregnancy and maternity leave, I quickly ask, is there room for paternity leave in there, since we're talking about gender mainstreaming? Because the world is coming to a place where it's not just mothers who raise children anymore. There are a lot of good fathers out there who are very hands-on, who also want time with their children. So are these some of the concepts that you debate when you are on a regular meeting at the office?
Yes.
To be more inclusive of even the male gender?
Yes, I'm happy to say that even at the Minerals Commission, we have paternity leave for our male staff.
How long is it?
That I would have to confirm the date, but then we have it. I think they have about a week or two paternity leave once your baby is out to support your wife. Now I know some of the companies are equally implementing same. Some even have workplace nursing cares for babies, so that mothers can attend to their babies whilst on duty. So those are some of the things that hopefully we are going to have a gender policy on my end, so all those issues will be covered in there.
I'm hearing a bring your child to work day somewhere down the line, but perhaps not immediately. Because of the role that society places on women, it turns out to be that they are the ones who usually bear the brunt of things. So when we talk about mining, how does it impact women and children in particular?
Mining impacts us in various ways. The environment, we have the issue of land degradation, water pollution, which obviously that's where we find women. We need the water to take care of the home, children going to fetch water and stuff like that. So we all know the effects that we're experiencing with Galamsey, the illegal mining issue currently. So, and then the issue of land, it also has the positive, more or less positive impacts in terms of the employment. But the positive in the sense that yes, be it men or women, we are all being employed. But then in terms of the numbers here again, both in the large scale and then the small scale sectors, we have huge differences in the large scale reports of about 10% on only female representation in there since 2019, since we came in and then started collecting the data, from 8 to 10% so far. The small scale, yes, report has been that about 40-50% of female representation in there, but then the issue comes to what are they doing in there? That's where the challenge is, because they are more in the peripheral roles, doing basic stuff in there, not earning enough. So it also comes with the issue of gender pay gaps. Even in the large scale sector, there are reports of gender pay gaps in there. So with the small scale, it's even bad because of here. I wouldn't term it as gender pay gaps, but then income disparities, huge income disparities between the male and female, obviously because of what each person is doing. So if a woman is able to earn more, obviously it goes back to the home. Unlike our men, we all know the issues with men when
we've just come from Easter. And we've talked about the gender that betrayed Jesus. We don't want to revisit the Judas conversation. But you make a point. It's also very, very real that more men, like I said before, are becoming more actively involved. There's a guy that we work with on our team, and I don't want to name names, but he's so dedicated to his children, and it's a beautiful thing to witness. So it's not all men who will turn their backs on their children. So when we talk about disparities, then the debate comes, but men give more monies to women, so the monies end up in the women's pockets. So that was just by the way. You're talking about gender pay gaps. I find that very problematic. There's a man and a woman doing basically the same thing, and yet the man gets paid more than the women. Why would that happen?
That's a difficult one because you all find it. Why is it that if we are all secretaries or managers, I think that's where normally the issues are. If you're all managers with the same experiences, why should Akwesi or Ama earn more than one? There are various reasons sometimes that account for it. They are not so, I wouldn't say justified, they are just not fair. Sometimes it's just one will put it to the issue of bargaining. That, oh, maybe Ama couldn't bargain more, couldn't negotiate because people see men to be more tough at negotiating. And then, women will always look at, oh, if I'm to lose this, what happens? But we are more risk averse than the men who are high risk takers. So sometimes these issues do affect us in our bargaining for even with respect to our incomes. Yes.
Right. I'm reading a brief now on the African Mining Vision and Sustainable Development Goals with respect to gender participation in the mining sector. What's that about? I'm seeing that you brought some slides. We're seeing some men and women seated being taught something. Is that what it's about?
The African Mining Vision, as we all know, has gender components in there. One key aim is to integrate gender equity into mining policies and programs and legislations. So as I said, gender mainstreaming assesses the implications of these policies, of our policies and programs on various genders, women, men. So the African Mining Vision more or less places more emphasis on these things, that yes, countries at the country level, we should ensure that in drafting our policies and then our legislations, we have these gender concerns, gender equity, fairness, justice placed at the core of our legislation's development.
And you also want women involved in the local content and local participation of the mining sector. Which areas specifically are you looking at? When you say you want them to be more involved, last week Fafa told us there's a deputy CEO who is female. There's some engineers coming up who are like hardcore women engineers, and they're making you proud. So when you talk about participation in content, in what areas specifically are you looking at?
Yes, we are looking at along the mining value chain, more women in the, let's say, in the procurement. Again, also in the employment sector, more women in there. Concession owners at the small scale level, more women, not just within for gold, but also for the other minerals, the clay, the sand, the gravels. We want more women. For sand and salt, yes, especially for sand, there are some women in there, but we'd like to have more women participating in there. And also, again, in the value chain, value addition. So that we let's now look at how do we add value to the minerals that we are producing. What training or capacity building programs can we give to these women so that we can turn our gold into jewelry, even stones, we can use them into, we can develop the stones either into jewelry or in so many artifacts that we can get. So those are the areas that we would like women entrepreneurs to avert their might. And when we look at, again, when you look at the mining list, we have the local content mining list. So there are areas that we can find women, or women can go into and then become suppliers for the industry.
Okay, now tell us about some of the activities and initiatives you're undertaking to bring this information out into the public and among the players who are already in the space.
As I said, one key initiative was the Local Content Act that we passed. Fortunately, we also the World Bank is undertaking a project, the land restoration project. Yes, land rehabilitation and then restoration projects. And with that, geological studies are being undertaken in the Ashanti region, the Adansi areas, to find more gold or areas that are mineable. What we know is that one of the key challenges access to land, especially mineable lands. So, as I said, we want to be able to empower women to own concessions, because looking at the data, we have again less than 10% of women concessionaires in the small scale sector. So, we want to empower women into groups, specifically just along the models of the community mining scheme, so that they can also own concessions in them. This is going to be mineable lands, so that when they go in there, they can also get something meaningful.
And the access to lands, is it that the land ownership system does not favor certain people, or how exactly is that the challenge for gender mainstreaming?
It's the issue of land is the mining process. To get a license, you need to find the land. But now Commission has taken it upon itself to demarcate areas for small scale mining. But then what happens is that, or in the past, when the miners apply for these areas, let's assume this block, as you know, they just go, they try to see if they can have some finds, and then if they don't, they go to the next one without proper decommissioning and stuff. So now Commission is undertaking the geological studies to find out, whether these areas are mineable enough, whether we'll be able to get some gold, some ores in there. So with that, we'll be able to know that these areas are good, so that in their allocation is not just given to random, or let's say only men who have the will without to be able to apply for them. But we are saying that let's avert our minds to women in those communities who can also come together as a group to own those concessions.
The challenge for many is access to funds, and it always comes up in some of these conversations. Mining is very capital intensive, and so how are you empowering women to get them access to the funds they need to be more active players and participants in this space?
Good. What Commission has started doing for the small scale sector is that they are in talks with financial institutions to support them. So that from these, as I said, once we do the geological study to give us that information, that can be collateralized for the banks. It gives the banks some level of comfort, reduces their risk to be able to access funds from the banks. I know that some female concessionaires are part of the list that will be having these funds or will be supported. So those are some of the things that Commission is doing, and then we will be, once the geological study in the Adansi areas are complete, the women that we get, we already started engaging. So those that are applying are interested, we'll look at how best we can secure funding for them. It's not just for them to have the land, but then also we also build their capacity, give them training to be able to manage those lands or those blockouts areas very well and effectively.
Okay, so now we've taken the money bit out of the bag, and we can focus on the other challenges that women in mining face, or how they navigate the hurdles that are presented in mining.
In addition to the funds, we also have the issue of health, mercury. mercury impacts, not just affecting the woman, even the men, to the extent of it can actually affect their potency. So mercury usage is quite dangerous, and the advocacy around is that we should try to use mercury-free technologies. Fortunately, Commission has secured gold catchers, which is more efficient in helping them to capture more of the gold as compared to the use of mercury and other tools before. So hopefully, again, women who come together or who come together to in groups that we manage to get these, help them with the licensing to acquire, to get the concession areas. Yes, we will see how best we can help them also get these gold catches. And then they can also, again, those who buy the ore, there are processing centers are going to be set up, so they can take the ores to those centers to be able to mine their ore and then be able to retrieve more from their ore. Yeah.
Right. And how do we not leave the men out? Because we've said at the table that gender is not just about women, but we've spent a considerable amount of time talking about how we can empower the woman, encourage her, find funds, and do all these things. How do we ensure the men are not left out?
They are not going to be left out, but as I said, for now, at least within the next 5-10 years, the focus is more on the women. Let's see how best because looking at the numbers, it's very low, as low as below 10%. So let's get more women in there for now. Then we look at how best to address the other challenges facing men as well.
This is a tricky one. I'm at the screen now, and I want to pick your thoughts on what we are discussing. And straight away, the punches are rolling. It said, I want to ask why women become bossy when they take up leadership position. Regardless of my question, I'm still an advocate for the gender mainstreaming. Do you get this a lot, that, oh, these women, if we bring them in, they're just coming to lord over us and everything?
Yes, it's an everyday thing, but then women are not necessarily bossy. I think the issue is women want things done and done in a more efficient way. So we may come out as being bossy, but then that's not we just want to get it right, and right from the onset. Or
we just know the shorter way of getting things done. So listen to the women.
We want the best.
We want
the best.
Thank you. See, when I get support like this, I'm very happy, because we know, just follow what the madam says. So it's not being bossy. Sometimes when a woman knows a lot about what they are doing, people read that as arrogance. Yeah. So it's not always a good look when you're trying to push women out there as getters, and the cultural system that we have wants to kind of tame them into the species that needs to be protected. Mm-hmm. Do we have that in the mining space, where there's a need, or there's a feeling of the need to shelter the women from the more hardcore parts of the job?
I don't think so. I don't think so, in the sense that, unfortunately, historically, as Fafa said yesterday, we've not had women, or so many women in the sector. But then the women who also have had the opportunity to serve in the sector have had it all. They've served in various capacities. We have women like Dr. Joyce Aye, who was, at the Chamber of Mines and did quite a lot for the mining sector. We have other women. We have a lady in the small scale sector, Madam Amina. She's also doing very well. Within our commission itself, we have had one female director, lawyer, a director of legal, and she's been, so it's not necessarily that women are to be protected or to be, no, not at all. Once given the opportunity or given the role, women do their best to shine or to achieve the necessary objectives of that position that has been given to them.
Okay, we'll wrap up this very quickly. What would be your final comments on gender mainstreaming? If we take nothing at all from this topic that we've heard you, we've spoken to you about, what should we remember when it comes to gender and mining?
I would like to say that empowering more women in our sector is very key to ensure sustainable growth and development. And then also one other thing is the issue of children in our sector, child labor, which is completely outlawed. But then unfortunately we find the children being working in the sector, more specifically in the illegal mining areas. And so I'd like to say that yes, efforts are being made to address these challenges, but then also we also speak to the hearts and minds of our mothers in the districts, in our mining communities, they should look at more of the long-term impacts of the children's involvement in these mining activities, so that they do their very best through education, through skills development, to let their children undertake certain skills for themselves. And for the women, yes, more programs will be coming up, more activities are going to be done to empower them to be able to take up more challenging roles in the sector. The Commission has started its bit because as the regulator, we have to be seen to be doing more. And so for us, what we are doing is the focus of management is to get more women in the core technical roles. Since 2019, we now have about 16 women in core technical, metallurgists, mining engineers. And I believe that one day we will even have Chief Inspector of Mines being a woman, because now we have Chief Inspector of Mines at the districts. Inspectors, not chief, but the inspectors at the district level. So as they grow, yes, I know that one day we'll have a female chief inspector of mines in the country, and that would be such a joy to see that.
I would love to see the day, and we'll be right here to celebrate it with you. In fact, the first female that becomes a chief inspector of mines, bring them to the table.
Sure.
There's an open invitation for whoever meets that mark. So to all the women out there who are inching closer and closer to that position, we are here for you, we are cheering you on, and the Minerals Commission is backing you. Reason why they have a gender and international unit, they have a gender mainstreaming section totally dedicated to dealing with all issues around gender. So men and women, children are in there as well. We've been talking to Monalynn Anokye-Bempah. She's a senior officer, gender and international affairs of the Minerals Commission, and she's been helping us understand gender mainstreaming a bit more as we started the conversation last week. Mona, thank you so much for joining us, and you can watch the interview and other videos on the social media handles of the Minerals Commission. They are on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Just look for Minerals Commission Ghana. If you have questions about anything we've spoken about that we have not had the opportunity to ask, send it to the Minerals Commission's social media handles, and there will be an answer there for you. We'll be taking a